Do you want to nail the lighting in your drone photos every time? Well, today I'm going to show you how to use exposure bracketing to achieve that. Alright, let's get started. First, we'll need a drone. I'm using the DJI Air 3, but you can use any camera drone that you would like. First of all, make sure that your photo format is set to RAW in your camera settings. This will make it much easier to edit the photo afterwards. What is exposure bracketing? Exposure bracketing is when you take multiple photos from the same perspective with different exposure levels and then merge it into one HDR photo that is perfectly lit. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get the drone into the air and I'll show you how to do it. So the first method of doing it is really easy. If your drone supports AEB or auto exposure bracketing, just set it to that mode and take photos and you'll be set. But some drones don't have that option. For example, the Mini 2, but it's still possible to achieve this. The way you do it is you take multiple photos manually without moving the drone and changing the exposure value in your camera settings. So for example, you hover the drone, you take a photo, then you set the exposure compensation to -1 or -2 depending on the lighting conditions. You take another photo and then you set that exposure compensation to +1 or +2 and take another photo. Later in the video, I'm going to show you how to use Pro Mode on your drone camera to get even better results in more complex lighting conditions. So keep watching if you want to figure out how to do that. Let's copy our photos to a computer and get editing. I'm using Camera Raw for Photoshop, but you can use Lightroom or any other software you like. If you're not using software from Adobe, this process will be a bit different. So you can search HDR Merge to see how to do it in your software. Alright, once we got the photos into the software, select all of the photos that were taken from the same perspective, right click and click Merge to HDR. You'll see different options and the most important of which is the deghosting option. If you have anything that moves in the frame, for example, some cars, boats, or people, you might notice that it's a bit glitched out on that portion of the photo. To avoid that, you can select the deghosting option to get rid of that artifact. But keep in mind that this will also slightly worsen the quality in that area of the photo, so only use it when necessary. Now click Merge, Save, and you'll see your HDR photo. You can mark the source photos for deletion, so they'll be automatically deleted when you click Done. Then repeat this process for every exposure bracketed photo you have. You can also play with the options on the right hand side of the window to achieve even better results, especially with the highlights and shadow slider. If you see that your photo is overexposed or underexposed, adjust the exposure and contrast to fix it. And you're done. How can you use Pro Mode to get even better results in more complex lighting conditions, like the sunset, for example? You take one photo with shutter speed that gives you perfect lighting, then go a bit lower and a bit higher, and you can repeat this how many times you want. Once you're in the editing software, the process is exactly the same as with auto exposure bracketing. You just select the photos, click Merge to HDR, and you're done. If you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe to not miss any future videos with such tips. See you in the next one.